Hi, my name is Hunter Flournoy, and I've had the incredible honor to be a friend of the Bodhi for over 20 years, and to serve on the board for the last 4 years, including as the current chair of the board. And I want to welcome you to the Bodhi's 2021 Virtual Gala. For the last several years, thanks to the incredible generosity of our donors, we've been able to upgrade the property significantly, putting new roofs on most of the buildings, upgrading the guest quarters, creating a space for Hosen to meet with students when they come. And most importantly, we're beginning to shift our focus to really creating a center for monastic practice at the Bodhi, a place that people can come to learn the Dharma, to participate in meaningful community, to find the truth of who they are, a source of strength and wisdom and love that goes right down to the core of their being and expands out in every possible direction. You see, the Bodhi isn't just about a place, it's about a living community. It's about the love that we bring to it and the ways we support each other and lift each other up in hard times. We hope that you will join us in becoming a contributor to the Bodhi. Over the next hour and a half, you'll have a chance to hear from some extraordinary people whose lives, like mine, have been changed by the Bodhi, and by knowing Hosen and the incredible way she practices the Dharma in every aspect of her own life, helping us to do the same. You'll hear some beautiful music, and you'll see a tour of some of the grounds and the incredible changes that have been happening at the Bodhi in the last year and a half. We hope that you will join us in making a difference that reaches out from this little valley in New Mexico and changes the lives of people around the world. Thank you. Palms together with deep gratitude, and enjoy the show.
Thank you so much, Hunter. Thank you for your friendship and your inspiring words and all that you contribute to Bodhi. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 2021 Blossoming Anew Gala. I am Hosen, and I am humbled to have been at Bodhi for almost 41 years now, helping and sharing this place with so many and touching so many hearts. I'm deeply thankful to all of you, our Board of Trustees, our students and staff. All of these groups coming together contribute to the growth and development of Bodhi Manda. I am especially thankful to Michelle Martin, whom you will meet in this presentation. This year, much upgrading took place, and the Gala is an opportunity to show you many projects that were cared for, to share with you the programs upcoming or past. So it's an opportunity to come together in this event to help us develop the monastic setting with the new Zendo in the future. Again, I thank you for all being here tonight in person. I would like to introduce to you our founder, Michelle Martin, who in 1973, a student of Joshi Sasaki Roshi, was moved to find a place where he could come and teach his Zen Buddhism. So we're very grateful for Michelle and finding this site of Bodhi Manda Zen Center, a site that has grown and developed from her foundation, and will continue to offer these wonderful Dharma teachings for all human beings. Michelle, please share with us a few words about your insight into this place and your evolution with it. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to say how glad I am to be back in touch with you, Hosen. It's been a long time. I've spent maybe 30 years in India and Nepal, and it just recently moved back to the U.S. So I'm very happy to be back in touch again. And Hosen had asked me to share a little bit about the early days and how Bodhi happened. So I will attempt to do that. Um, And when you look back to beginnings, it's difficult to find where something actually begins. Everything is so interconnected. Was that the event? But maybe then it was due to that. So to kind of shorten the story, I will go back to the late 60s and 70s when the counterculture was flourishing in the US, and I was part of that. And one of the concepts that we had was of liberating space, which meant that you opened up a place for something meaningful to you to happen. So I had that concept kind of in the back of my mind. And in the early in 72, I packed up all my dissertation books and drove cross country from New Haven to California, where I wanted to write my dissertation in a barn by the sea, like a romantic. And I was driving Route 66, and we came to New Mexico, and there was a sign that said Santa Fe Taos. And I remember my grandparents had gone there. So I took a right turn, went north, and I thought I'd stay a couple days, and a month later I was still there. And of course, as the license plates say, land of enchantment, and it was true. So I wound up coming back to New Mexico, not staying in California, and became involved with Lama Foundation. I was a trustee there, and I spent time and was teaching some meditation in Santa Fe. So in it must have been 1973, I went for a first session with two friends from Lama Foundation. They were going to Mount Baldy to do a session, and I had read a lot of D.T. Suzuki, and I thought, oh, this is great. I can at last actually do the practice. So I went with them, and the session was tougher than I could have ever imagined. But I also realized that it was just exactly what I needed as a form of practice. So I came back to New Mexico and wondered how can I connect with this? Because I didn't want to leave New Mexico and I wanted to practice Zen. So how to resolve that? So I thought, well, I'll invite Sasaki Roshi to come and teach in New Mexico. And so when I went back for my second session afterwards, I talked to Roshi and I made this proposal to him. And he thought for a while and he said, you find hot springs, I come. So I went back to New Mexico and we had this sort of network of counterculture people. There weren't too many centers for practice or meditation at that time. But so we all knew each other pretty well and the word went out. And one day when I was actually back at Mount Baldy, I got a call from Maria Chabot, who was Georgia O'Keeffe's general manager for her ranch up in Abiquiu. And Maria had retired and she was working a phone switch center in Albuquerque. And through that, she was eavesdropping on a phone conversation and heard that this Jemez Springs, there was a old hotel that had become a monastery that was for sale. So she called me at Mount Baldy and she said, Michelle, you have to get back here immediately. I will meet you at the airport. And she wouldn't take no for an answer. So I was on a plane, Albuquerque. We drove up to Jemez Springs. And there was this hotel. And we walked in and looked at the old chapel. And it had green and red linoleum tiling from the 50s on it. And the walls were dark. And we thought, well, we could open this up with wood and paint things white, the windows. And we went out and back and walking by the river, and we saw this depression by the river, and there was some water in it. It looked, and we touched it, and the water was hot, and it looked as if one of the brothers had been sort of bathing in this. So we thought, oh, they're hot springs as well. So I sent pictures to Roshi and talked to him about it, and he said, okay, go with it. So then we started with talking to the Paraclete brothers, Father McNamara, who was always very kind to us. And we got the all the legal things worked out. And then there was the project of repurposing this monastery. So again, we sent the word out into the community, free room and board, come join us building this monastery. So they people started trickling in. It was January, and 5 people, 6, and it kept growing. And at the end, we had around 12, 13 people that were working full time. And we set up a place to do lumber work, sort of a carpentry center. We ordered the stove from Los Angeles. We brought in a big bale of kapok and tons of black cloth, and I bought a sewing machine in the room next to the dining room, which we call the living room. That was the sewing center. And it was just a very special time. There was such wonderful energy amongst people of wanting to help and make this place happen. So it was a wonderful sort of interdependent event in itself that all of us were there. And at night we would hang around together, make a big meal, talk. And miraculously, in 2.5 months, we were able to rebuild the whole thing, build the beds, the tons, make the zapus and the zapatons and the kimonos, and everything was ready when Roshi came for the first sesshin, the opening day. And from there on, things continued. We to kind of look at it at a perspective of what is happening now. One of the things we did was investigate downhole heat exchangers, so we wouldn't have to pay big heating bills, and we shared that with people in town, and quite a few people did the same thing. And we also worked with the town. We had people on the volunteer fire department, and I trained as an EMT and was on call for the ambulance, and we walked in the Ascension Day parade with the Catholic Church, and it was a wonderful small community, but we felt we shared a lot with them. And we did fairs, baked bread and tea for the local fair. And then we also started gardening. And the gardens, those days were just berms, and we supplied a good part of our food from it, but nothing like what Christine Wilson's been able to do with it since she's come there. So we have the woofers and the pantry, which is such a great idea. We started making tofu, and we sold it to the co-ops in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, but it was nothing like the pantry with all this luscious food and vegetables available. So that's just wonderful to see that growing. And we also we had a connection with the Pueblo as well. There was an elder who would come and visit and just kind of hang out, and we'd have a cup of tea and we'd talk about the weather and plants and the garden. And I felt like he was simply sort of overseeing us, kind of giving the blessing of including us in their world. And I know from what Hosen said that relationship has really developed, it's beautiful. I'm so glad that happened. And another thing that I had wanted to happen at Bodhi was some experiments with Zen. I felt like it could be adapted more to the modern days without losing the vitality and the the spirit and force of the practice. And so we started doing exercises, which was not done at Mount Baldy, but we got up in the morning and did exercises before chanting. And I noticed in the schedule there's also exercise later in the afternoon when it's better for the body. So that's a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad the chanting's happening in English. It's wonderful that people actually know what they're chanting. It goes deeper, I think, when it's in your own tongue. And also having the full moon meditations, that's such a lovely idea. So I'm really delighted that it's kind of opening up in this way and yet keeping the tenure of the practice at the same time. So when I was staying at Bodhi, sometimes I would wonder, am I doing enough for the world by just being here and practicing? And And I would turn to the teachings on interdependence, which one of Roshi's translators used to call mutually unimpeded interconnectedness, and saw that, if you go back to say the Huayan tradition, there's this beautiful image of Indra's net where each crystal at the crossings of the net reflects all the other crystals. And this fact that we do live in a very interdependent world, which means that the work that we do in our own mind and our own being, that makes a difference in the world, that connects uh, to us, to everybody. And the work that we do in ourselves benefits everybody. And a more sort of mundane image of that is if you take a street with houses all along it and everybody has a broom, and if people keep the space in front of their house clean, the whole street is clean. So in that way, you're helping the whole neighborhood. And I feel that that's what Bodhi is doing. It's helping the local neighborhood, and it's helping the world neighborhood. And I'm so happy to know that Dana Roshi is coming, that just his presence will benefit everybody who's there. And I would encourage people to take advantage of this wonderful place that Hosen has kept going, to bring, to come here and practice, so that your minds will open up and you will come to see this wonderful, rich, luminous reality that's present to us at every moment. So I thank you for listening, and wish you the best. Thank you. And then there's one thing I forgot to say, which relates to what I ended with, and that has to do with the pandemic and the effect that it has, and also the fact that Bodhi has continued to provide this wonderful space for people throughout this really difficult time. And in listening to people talk about what the pandemic was for them, a lot of them have said, it forced me to look inside. It forced me to find my inner life and to recalibrate my values. And I think that is the great gift of the pandemic. And I am so glad that Bodhi will be there for people that want to come and explore that inner life at Bodhi. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Hosen. What an incredible story of the Bodhi's beginnings. And one of the most marvelous things to happen in the last century is that Buddhism is evolving. And in this country, it's evolving into an American Buddhism, a Buddhism that speaks to the hearts and the minds and the condition of those of us who live here in the West. And the people at the forefront of that development, many of whom have been women who have devoted their whole lives to practice, like Hosen, like Michelle, like Kosan, who you'll hear from in a little bit, who have given their whole lives to the deep and serious practice of these ancient traditions and are giving them new life through their own living and through their own relationships in the world today. Well, now we're going to take a few minutes to give everyone a chance to see the incredible developments that have taken place at the Bodhi in the last few years. All of the hard work that's gone into repairing roofs and plumbing and heating and everything else that we're working on there, and to create a space where people can really let go of all the worries of the world and come home to themselves.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Kai. I'll be taking you on this renovation tour that we're about to go on. A lot of things have been happening at the Bodhi and we're happy to be able to share them with you. First thing you'll notice are new roofs on the motel building, the apartment building, as well as a new roof on the Sutra Hall. Maybe you don't know, but a huge windstorm about 8 months ago tore the Sutra Hall roof off, and now it has finally been completely replaced. Thankful for that. The motel rooms, all 4 of them, have been completely renovated. They're absolutely beautiful now. They have new bathrooms as well, new tile floor in there, new fixtures, beautiful new showers. They're absolutely amazing. Out back, we replaced our hot water well and redug it so it's much easier to access if we have any difficulty with it now, saving us a lot of time. Here in the back, we freed up a lot of space, and then this is going to be used for potential student housing in the future. The apartment building has new stucco, new windows, and it has been divided into 2 apartments. One will be Dane and Roshi's, who we are expecting to arrive very shortly. He'll be living with us for the foreseeable future. In the back here, this is the back of the Zendo. We freed up a lot of space here as well. There was a huge dirt pile here from when the Sutra Hall was constructed almost 20 years ago. This new space is going to be used for potentially a new Zendo, kind of a monastic area, a place of silence and meditation. We also have a yurt that was donated, so we may possibly set up the yurt somewhere back here. Right now, it's just a great place to sit and listen to the river. But a lot of possibility for this new space, and we're excited to see what we can do with it. This is the terrace connected to the Zendo porch. This is a great hangout spot. The staff likes to sit here and chat, or we'll have meetings here, sit here and read a book. It's just a beautiful spot in the summertime, and beautiful place to just watch the hummingbirds as well. Hey fella. Coming down to the hot springs, these are our new Peking ducks, Bubba and Steve. They're super adorable. The cold pond was dug out, and we're hoping to get some new lotus flowers in there. We've also been storing water in it and using that cold pond water to water the gardens. The river has been trimmed up and cleaned. Great place to take a cold plunge. The lower pool was unusable for many years, but it's totally cleaned out and beautiful, as are all of our other hot springs, which are toasty and waiting for you. The coyote fence is absolutely new. It's a mixture of the old style with new. It's wonderful. We're so happy to get that done. We still have about 20 chickens or so who are laying fresh eggs for us every day, and they help us by eating our compost and leftovers. We have a new gardener, and she's been helping with a lot of things, one of them being tightening up our composting systems. As you can see here, all of the gardens this year have just been amazing. They're all in full bloom. The sunflowers are as beautiful as ever, as you can see, those Bodhi sunflowers. In the gardens, we have a lot of delicious things, peppers, some delicious green chilies, as you see here. We've been growing a lot of greens as well, some delicious squash, kale and chard. We have a beautiful field here. This is blue corn. Some of our friends from the Jemez Pueblo came up and helped us plant all this, so we're excited to see that in the fall. Luscious tomatoes. I mean, you can see we got a lot of beautiful, beautiful produce. Chilies of all sorts, eggplants. This basil is so fragrant. I wish you could smell that right now. It's so delicious. Purple bell peppers. It's just been great. We want to take this time to just say thank you to everyone for your continued support, and thank you for coming on the tour with me. And if you don't know, this is Jade. She's the new Bodhi mascot. Hey Jade, thank you so much.
As you can see from looking at the beauty of the Bodhi right now, the Bodhi is truly blossoming anew in every way. Now we have a very special treat for you. The musical stylings of Brandon and James, two very dear and long-term supporters of the Bodhi, wanted to offer their special tribute to what the Bodhi is becoming and to Hosen as she leads us in that effort.
Hey everyone, it's Brandon and James, and we are delighted to be part of the 2021 Bodhi Gala. Gala.
Gala.
You say Gala and I say Gala.
Let's call the whole thing off.
On the occasion of Hosen's 70th birthday, we leave you all with this musical treat. Thank you, we love you.
Bye.
secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah. Un ateo que consiguió creer, un hambriento hoy tiene de comer. Yo donaron a una iglesia una fortuna. Que la guerra pronto se acabará, que en el mundo al fin reinará la paz, que no habrá miseria alguna. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. I know this room and I walk this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, I did my best, it wasn't much. Couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song. Nothing on my lips but hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Brandon and James. You know, the Bodhi lives on the traditional lands of the Jemez people, who are now located in Jemez Pueblo. And over the years, Hosen has worked hard to cultivate a relationship with Jemez Pueblo. And now ceremonies, dances, gardening, and just the real help that neighbors give each other take place between the Pueblo and the Bodhi. We're now going to hear a few words from a really dear friend of the Bodhi, Roger Fragua from Jemez Pueblo, to talk a little bit about the resources and the relationships that we need to tap deep into to get us through the challenging times we live in. Please enjoy. Here's Roger.
Hello, Hosen, and those of you that are joining us virtually for this Bodhi virtual gala. I know, Hosen, that you and your community, that myself included, as part of your community, I think that we would all rather be together in person. And you know that this world pandemic has caused some interruptions in our daily flow and how we operate. And I guess now this marks the second year that we have joined together virtually. But I think it's important to say that I think there's instruction, I think there's messages, I think there's lessons embedded inside of this pandemic. And I wanted to just take a few minutes, Hosen, to join you, to join this community, to join our community, one that I feel like I'm very much a part of with the Bodhi. And I think to go back in time just a little bit and to think about collectively our ancestors, those who have passed on, those are coming, those unborn that are coming, those winged, the finned, the four-legged, the pollinators, the macroinvertebrates that are in our water, the air, all the plants. So all these entities that we share and have shared since the beginning of time. And if we think about this kind of going back in time, we have been together for a very long time. When we think about those four sacred directions, about the north, the south, the east, and the west, above us and below us, and we think about all that sacred ground and sacred water and even that sacred air that we breathe, that is so important to acknowledge, I think, because a lot of the work that we have done together, Hosen, between our Pueblo community and the Bodhi, and more specifically Flower Hill Institute, and the Bodhi, and our collaborations. And when I think about that, and I think about all of our collective family and friends that we share, and those in our community, all those people that have passed through your doors, I know that when I look at the Bodhi with great admiration and great respect for the very important work that you have been doing here for a very long time, and our coexistence, as you know, we the Pueblo community, we too have been here for a very long time. So in our coexistence, I think that there is much work that we have done, and optimistically looking through the windshield about all the work we have to do together in the future. To be honest with you, I'm very excited about our work that we do collectively. when I look at the Bodhi, you feed people, and you don't just feed them the organic vegetables and produce that come from your land and all your hard work. You feed people and nourish them spiritually, emotionally, so well beyond the physical feeding of people, which is no question, you do that, and you do that with great elegance, you do it with humbleness, you do it with love, you do it with respect to just about anybody that comes to your door. And I think that is to be acknowledged and respected. And I think that our community acknowledges you, the Bodhi, and respects you, Bodhi, and and your entire community. So, I think about this collective work that we do together in feeding people, and some of the emotional support that you give to the community, and the spiritual support that you give to the community in the form of your training, all your sacrifices that you make there, all of the ceremony that you hold there. You're not in this alone. We do this collectively. We do it together. Our ceremony that we conduct since the beginning of time and going forward, since time immemorial and going forward into the future, all of our ceremony collectively together is really important. I think during these times of trouble, of loss, we have lost here, but I think beyond the physical loss of our tribal members, who we will certainly miss, I think the loss sometimes, it's not so much the individual but the collective. The loss sometimes can be that of confidence, that of security, and wholeness, and our wellness, our mental health. So I think that goes well beyond the physical loss that we have experienced here in our community, and in our region, our state, these United States, and well beyond into our planet. But I think that we know with great confidence that the ceremony that we participate in collectively, you there, us here, collectively, we know there's sacrifice involved. We know there's prayer involved. We know there's commune with the spirit world involved. And I think that those are truly important, and if not the most important. It gives us back our comfort. It gives us back our confidence. It gives us back our trust between amongst each other. I've seen kind of, the troubling part about some of this is some of the divisiveness in our communities, in our human sense, and I just think that there is more good than bad. I think that there is more good and positive things coming. So I think in terms of our messaging to each other, between and amongst each other, and even beyond our communication between and amongst each other, Hosen, in our communities, that we have established really good communication, good working relationships, good sharing of the good and the bad. I think that our message has to go beyond this valley and go beyond ourselves as two entities. I think we really have to share our messages of hope and encouragement, and share our resiliency that we have established, and really empowering people to have that belief and trust, that faith and confidence that there is more good in these challenging times than there is in terms of the negative forces that are out there. So I really think that we're going through some changes. Absolutely is clear, and I think those changes could be accepted with some humbleness, could be accepted as part of nature's way of growing new. And I really look forward, Hosen and those in the Bodhi community that now are no longer friends, they're family. That we together as a family, as a community, we look forward together and know that we have each other in terms of reliance, and to be able to lean on, to be able to know that we have each other's backs as we move forward to better times and toward a brighter future. And I think that when we start thinking about those young people and those even unborn that are coming, the responsibility is really on us to remain resilient, to remain hopeful, to be encouraging and empowering to those that are coming. And the best way to do that, I think, is to treat each other that way today, is to treat each other with that same kind of hope, resilience, respect, and encouragement. And if we continue to greet each other, maintain each other, and to show each other those kinds of elements, that those coming behind us will see us communicating each other in that way, and they too will be able to do that. So I think the best way to teach the future is to be that today. So Hosen, with great respect, I'm sorry I'm not with you in person, but I'm always with you in spirit. And I want to share this message with you and the community that let's continue to be together. Let's continue to be hopeful. Let's continue to be resilient and encouraging of each other as we move forward. With great love and respect, Hosen, to you and your entire community, from our community here in the Pueblo of Jemez and at Flower Hill Institute, we wish you nothing but the best and in great success for all that you do. Thank you. That's all I could say simply is just thank you, Hosen, for being who you are and how you are. You certainly are a very bright light in this valley, and your work has not gone unnoticed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those inspiring words, Roger. Next, we have a really wonderful presentation. A few words from Carla Kosan, who has been shepherding the Bodhi's Facebook page for a few years now and sharing incredible wisdom and humor and deep heart in every post that she puts out in our social media. Carla is also an extraordinary practitioner, as you'll hear in just a few moments. And her practice, of course, is on the cushion and in her sitting. But even more importantly, in some ways, her practice is in how she lives and in how she relates to everyone in her life. I think you'll be as powerfully moved as I was when I saw this. Enjoy.
Welcome everyone, friends, family, supporters, and community to the 2021 Blossoming Anew fundraising gala for the Bodhi Manda Zen Center. My name is Kosan, and I'm very glad that you are here. So I first came to Bodhi in 1982. I was a college student at the time at the University of New Mexico, and I had seen an advertisement at the Purple Hippo coffee shop for a groovy meditation weekend up in Jemez Springs. which sounded lovely. And there were going to be hot springs, and it was going to be a wonderful time. So I ended up at the Bodhi having no idea what I was walking into. And it was definitely not groovy. And I actually left Saturday morning of the meditation retreat because there were all of these people running around in black robes, and I had no background to understand what I was seeing. I met Hosen at the time, and we really hit it off. And she thought it was funny that I was surprised by the setting that I found myself in because I hadn't done my homework. She said that I was welcome to leave as long as I came back. And of course, I agreed to that just to get out of there. But the next weekend, I was back, and I had done some reading in the intervening week. I began doing session, and my friendship with Hosen deepened over the years. I initially came into Zen practice to learn to control or to deal with anger. I had a lot of anger and fear, and I found that the structure of Zen Buddhism really forced me to deal with the underlying components of my issues with fear and anger. There are some really prominent features of Buddhism that helped me during the time that I felt swamped by the diagnosis of my illness. I was a marble sculptor before I was diagnosed. And the way that we knew that I was sick was that I was unable to carry 150-pound sculptures anymore. Literally, that's what happened, because I have limb onset ALS, which is extremely rare in women and in the ALS community. So I was frightened by the changes that I saw in my life. And when we finally figured out what the problem was, I was devastated because I had, like everyone else, spent so much time thinking about, all these big plans I had, and I had a grandchild on the way. I had a very full dream life about my final years, at which I thought were going to be plentiful. And all of a sudden, it was not to be the case. I found that non-attachment was huge for me. I love the work that Thich Nhat Hanh has done with non-attachment, meaning that you are not attached to things. You are not attached to them through your perception. So you love as deeply, you participate as fully in your life and the life of those around you, but you are not attached to an outcome. You have not predetermined what you think should happen. You flow with the situation as it presents itself. The second thing that really was absolutely vital to my growth was the concept of impermanence and staying within the moment. Whatever the moment gives to you is all you have. So you can either hate it or love it, but it's still going to be the moment that it is. And that has caused me or enabled me to live in a very joyful way and get excited, get involved, and actually was the reason that I began painting. I thought, this crazy disease has not stopped me from being able to eat and talk and breathe. So my muscles in my neck and shoulders are still strong. Why not try something I've never tried before? So that's how I started painting, holding the brush in my mouth. And so it's been a really joyful evolution, actually, into something I never dreamed I would be doing. I think it's Carlos Castaneda that says, and I will quote this wrong, but I'm going to try anyway, you can either be positive or negative. The amount of energy is the same. The fact is, I will never get this moment again. To embrace this moment, ostensibly with my hair on fire, to me, it has nothing to do with anything external. It has to do with my choice. And I think the thing that is exciting to me these days is that people are inspired by what I do, which is all I ever wanted anyway. When I was a teacher, that's what I did. I was a special ed teacher, and my goal was to inspire the children that everybody had told could not move forward and embrace a life of their own making because of whatever issues they had. My goal was to show them that with a whole lot of hard work, they could do exactly that. Because if I can get the ideas and thoughts and shoulds and have tos out of my head, clearly see what's happening right here in front of me and what the possibilities are, there's nothing but a joyful life here. There's nothing but an inspiring life here. And there will never be anything like this again. So it's time to embrace it and ride it to the end. Usually the images that I choose are very personal. Normally I don't do commission work, but they're important images because they are of friends. Or for instance, the painting of Bodhidharma is a great example. That's been an image I've loved my entire life. So I am in my wheelchair. I can't use my arms, but I can move myself with my feet. And so I can get at different angles. We have an easel set up. What I work with are some extremely intricate and difficult pieces. And I choose the image and then it's reproduced onto a canvas. The beauty of this is that you can recreate any image you would like. So it's very personal and they are very difficult. So my wife is the one usually who helps me change out brushes or paints, but I will pick a color and work with that color. And very much like when I used to carve marble, I am meditating the entire time I'm painting. I've noticed that it's a very contemplative activity for me. And it's very much actually like sitting Zazen. You know, when you start Zazen, you kind of get yourself a little bit settled down. Your ideas are racing through your head. You're kind of involved in the outward appearance of things. And you settle down and you begin to kind of get into your meditation. And there comes a point, at least for me, where I get really bored. And and I'm looking for something, you know, like, oh, I wonder how much longer this is going to go on. Paintings for me are like that too. It's funny. I'm excited to start one and I'm going along just fine. And then there comes a point when I'm just ready for it to be over. I'm done. I'm all those things. And so like with Zazen, you keep sitting, you keep focusing, you keep staying present, and suddenly you're done. And it's an amazing picture. And all these disparate components have come together into this thing of beauty. So it really is a lot of my sitting time now is spent in painting. I think what I would like people to take from art that I do or things that I say is that there's no other moment but now. This is an amazing moment of time because it's your moment in time. And to be clear and joyful and help the people around you and inspire people is all any of us could ever do in this lifetime anyway. I think it's so important, especially in this day and age, to be what you are in the fullness of who you are for the people around you, your community, your family, the people who look to you, I should say. It's now more important than ever for us to dive deep into our practice and become the fullness of who we are so that we can benefit those around us.
Thank you, Kosan, for that incredible invitation to come more fully into this moment and live the life that we're here to live. And the Bodhi has been supported by so many people over the years. And the Bodhi's work of inviting people to come home to themselves and to take that manifestation of deeper self out into their lives and into their relationships. We have such a community extending out not just across the country, but across the world. And every person who's come to the Bodhi has been touched by Hosen, by the land, by the hot springs, and by the spirit of the practice and the teaching that's offered at the Bodhi. We hope that you will join us in supporting the Bodhi in its work, and we hope that you will come again when the time is right and the world makes it possible for you to come join us at the Bodhi again and to sit, to practice, to gaze at the river, to sit in the hot springs, to watch the chickens meandering, and maybe to help out in the garden. Because the Bodhi works because we are the Bodhi. All of us together are the Bodhi. And we are taking the message of awakening that the Bodhi offers out into every part of our own lives.